So you essentially, found yourself, questioning, and then you pretty much said, hey, this is not for me. This
is the reality.
And what was your family reaction?
Not great. I think the frustrating thing was, there's one thing when somebody engages you and go, okay, that's crap, I don't disagree,
right.
but I hear you. Yeah. It was the refusal to engage, period.
Right.
The idea that, okay, you are pro-Israel and you've been and seen it, but I still don't want to hear it because Israel's evil. It's frustrating, and it's kind of like, what are you afraid of?
And that's interesting to me because, again, since Islam is a legal-based religion the way Judaism is, and I'm so used to Judaism, Jews love to talk about it. They would love to argue. They say, oh, sure, let's get into this. And the fact that Islam doesn't do that shows that the legal part of it doesn't seem to be the driving part of it.
No, and it's very much the idea of submit. Here are the rules, submit, don't question.
So submission, really, because that's essentially Islam's.
Yeah, I mean that's what Islam means, submission to Allah.
Yeah.
So,
right.
and that's what it is. Like, here are the rules. It says pray 5 times a day. You pray 5 times a day. And with certain things there are explanations, but if there isn't an explanation, it's the simple idea that, look, this is what Allah says. Do it.
It's funny because Judaism has that as well.
Yeah.
There's certainly things mitzvot that are considered okay. We don't understand the reason for it, but we're still want to try to figure it out. We'll still spend a lot of time trying to say, okay, maybe it's this, maybe it's that. We won't know, and we're still going to do it anyway. But let's try to see what lessons we can learn from it, or something like that.
For sure.
But that's an interesting difference to me between them, because I know things that are in common, and I respect the things that are in common.
Yeah.
But it's very interesting to me that there's that, that there's no questioning in Islam.
Another aspect, this has just come to me. Like, you walk through Israel, you'll have, yeshiva kids at Aroma discussing the Talmud, or, two secular guys discussing, the merits of Yom Kippur or whatever.
Yeah.
In Islam, it's like that aspect has been taken away, and it's just the scholars, or people who claim to be scholars, who make all the decisions, and that's it. And the common man should not involve themselves in those things because, they don't have the ability to deal with it, or whatever the reasoning is.
So maybe that's a path towards reform.
I mean, if there is any, that could be to re-empower the individual rather than,
that doesn't sound like it would be violating Islam to be able to democratize study.
For sure, and essentially that was meant to be how Islam would be, that you have a direct relationship with God with no intermediary.
Right.
But right now it is, wherever you look in the Muslim world, it's people are getting their religion or their beliefs from somebody else. Like I can read Arabic, but I don't understand it, and the majority of Muslims aren't Arabs.
Right.
So they read the Quran in Arabic but don't understand it, so they're relying on somebody else's interpretation.
That's the other difference, is that Islam seems to be so oriented towards memorization and just recitation without understanding, and Judaism is like study.
Yeah.
People want to. They thirst for study. It's like whether it's the Talmud or that's what they. In New York, you'll see little kids picking up
on the underground,
just for fun, because that's what they just feel like. That's a very interesting thing. The other thing I wanted to ask about the difference in Islam, again, because the story again is okay. You got, and it's very interesting. I hear that you ended up becoming Christian, and you're working for Christians United for Israel, which is, I just wanted to tie a bow over there, but it's like, okay, you've spoken about that otherwise, that's fine. The other question I have again is, since you have obviously a very unique insights in Islam, and that's something I'm fascinated with, how much of it do you think is adherence to the religion, again, as a legal type system, and how much of it do you think is culture? Because a lot of it, especially Arab, but maybe it's Islam altogether, my impression is that the honor-shame culture drives a lot of behavior.
No, for sure, and that is an aspect. So Islam in its early days, as it sprung out of Arabia, it took on almost the culture of where it was. So Muslims in South Asia were inclined to Sufi Islam, where there was a lot of music and saints, and because it mirrored kind of the Hindu culture, and the same in places like Africa as it expanded. But what you saw in the last century was this drive to standardize Islam. And it's seen as reform, but the reform is to take it back to what it was in the 7th century.
Right.
So any cultural diversity, which I think had been good for Islam, is slowly being erased. On one side you have Saudi Arabia driving Sunni Islam, and on the other side you have Iran driving Shia Islam to one version on both sides.
And both of them are more radical or tending towards the radical.
It's a dogmatic, these are the rules, don't question it kind of style.
Right. I mean, but beyond that, it's like there seems to be a fear to me, and again, tell me if I'm wrong, but it seems to be a fear that, hey, if I'm not right-wing enough, then everybody's going to start, throwing stones at me because...
I mean, well, essentially, but that's what's happened. Like, for example, in Pakistan, you had millions of Sufi Muslims who would go to the graves of saints, and music was a part of worship, and you had numerous terror attacks against Sufi shrines.
Right.
So it's not a question of getting stoned, it's a question of you could get killed.
Right.
So it's, look, you can stand up for what you believe in and fight your corner, but when the other guys are more well-armed, you make decisions based on,
Sure.
how much of a risk do I want to take.
Right. But again, over there clearly, like you were talking physical harm, but there's also shaming, there's also...
Oh, for sure, and there's words, like bid'ah and shirk, which are Arab words, which mean, bid'ah means innovation, and there's a hadith on Muhammad which says any innovation is a bad innovation in Islam.
Right.
So it's almost like a shaming word.
Right.
So if you do something which you can't say this is directly from the Quran, people go, well, that's a bid'ah, so you're wrong. Shirk is worshipping another god, which is like one of the biggest sins in Islam. So if you are, for example, Shia Muslims will say Ya Ali. Ali is Muhammad's son-in-law, is one of the most significant figures in Islam, and they will say that as, it's kind of like a chant, and they look to him for help almost. Other Muslims will go, well, that's shirk, because you're worshipping Ali, and you shouldn't be asking God for help.
Right.
So, and then, they're used to shame, and it's a threatening shame. So people either fall in line, or they just go very quiet and fade in the background. But the bigger problem is, especially in the West, what these groups have done, they target the next generation. Like the generation before followed all these traditions, all these cultural things, and it was kind of almost, our parents did it, so we did it. We don't know why exactly. And you have these extremist groups going, all of this isn't from the Quran, so it's wrong. And there's numerous examples of, or not numerous, more than numerous, where in the UK, especially, the children and grandchildren are 1,000 times more radical than their parents and grandparents ever were.
That's certainly